We'll start by letting you know that we are recording this meeting, and we're doing that because for those who aren't able to join the meeting, we will be creating a little video and putting it on the website so that people can look at the presentation at their leisure. So thanks again for joining us. Today, we're going to share with you the City of Rocklin's plans on making improvements for all modes of travel. So motor vehicles, bicyclists, transit, and pedestrians within the area of the Rocklin Road Interstate 80 interchange. The improvements will address some of the existing traffic congestion that's already out there, and it will also improve walking and biking connections to downtown Rocklin and Sierra College. We're going to present three design concepts today for you, and we are very eager to hear your feedback. So once again, thank you for participating with us. If you want to move to the next screen. And Esme, I'm sure you're letting people in that are still in the waiting room, correct? Thank you. Okay, so as you might have noticed, all of you have joined us. You are on mute. The reason for that is Zoom will pick up any extraneous noise, and then it'll ruin the presentation for everyone if that happens. So, but we do have many ways that you can provide us your thoughts and your comments. And the first one, obviously, is the using the chat box. So if you look down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the icon and the words chat. If you click that, it'll pop up the chat box, and you can type any thoughts, comments, questions you may have. We will be monitoring that chat box throughout the meeting, so you don't need to wait. If you have a question or a comment, just go ahead and put it in there. And as I mentioned, we will have just periods where we will go back and review the chat box to see if there's any questions that we can answer for you during the presentation. If during our Q&A session you would like to verbally ask your question, then you can use your raised hand function that is available through Zoom. And there's, depending on what a device you're using, it's at different locations. So if you're on a smartphone, then if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the more with the three dots. Just click that, and the raise hand option will pop up, and you can click that, and we will see that you would like to ask a question. At that point, we will unmute you, and then you can ask that question. If you're on a tablet, it's the same thing. You just see the more, click that, and it'll pop up for you. If you're on the computer, you have a couple of different options. You can hit the participants icon, and it will pop up for you, the raised hand, or you can hit the reactions. And if you hit any of those, thumbs up, whatever, it doesn't matter. We know that you'll want to ask a question, so we will unmute you. If you're on just a regular phone, if you'd like to raise your hand, just hit *9, and then you'll have to hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, so with all of those instructions, let me introduce the team that is joining us this evening. I'll start with Matt McClure. He's with the City of Rocklin, and he's the Public Services Manager, and he's also our city's project manager for this project. With us also tonight is Justin Narker, and he's the Director of Public Services. Luke McNeil-Caird is the Senior Project Manager for Jacobs Engineering, and he's leading the overall project management. Mike Robinson is the engineering lead with Jacobs, and Matt Frank is the environmental lead with Jacobs. And then helping me is Esme Santana, and she's helping me with the community outreach. Let me just click that off my screen. Things are popping up on my screen here. So in addition to the project team introductions, We will have some welcoming remarks from the city of Rocklin, and then we will be going through a presentation on the project. We will have a group discussion and some Q&A, and then we'll wrap this up and get you out of here by 6 o'clock, we promise, and let you know what will be happening next after this community meeting. Okay, so what have we been doing? Well, we started out this project with the public engagement on it back in September, where we had a meeting with a group of property owners and business owners within the sort of adjacent to the project area. And we met with them early because we really needed to understand from their perspective what the existing conditions are out there from people who are there every day. We wanted them to share, you know, what they see with the traveling public. How do their students, their employees, and or their customers access and leave their establishments? And what do they see as potential areas to improve? And really, we wanted also to get early feedback on some of those design concepts. So we met with them, very early in the meeting, and then based upon some of their feedback, we made a few modifications, came back, and we met with the community in a community workshop on October 19th, and we had about 46 people attend that workshop. And we basically did the same thing. We wanted to understand from your perspective, you know, how people were traveling there, what they saw as some of the challenges around there, and possibly what they would like to see in regards to improvements. We then circled back with 4 of the property owners that were that had a lot of information, more information they wanted to share, and we went out and did some site visits with them. And then after that, we are now having this community workshop. I'd like to also just let you know, and Esme is going to put it in the chat box, or she already has, the link to the project website. And we're doing our utmost to keep this up to date. And so as this project progresses, please make sure you go back and check the website every once in a while. I also wanted to let you know that we have a public survey that we have launched on the 19th, and it will be open until May 15th. And again, the survey link is in the chat box. If you haven't already, after this meeting, anytime until the May 15th, if you could share your thoughts with the survey, we would really appreciate that as well. And please share that link with all of your friends, colleagues, anybody that you know that travels in this area. We would love to hear from them as well. One of the important aspects of the community outreach and engagement is making sure that we connect with the priority communities, and these are defined as communities, disadvantaged communities, defined by the California Communities Environmental Health Screening Tool, the Cal Enviro 3.0. A disadvantaged community refers to a community that has that they consider a low-income community, which is actually an annual median household income that is less than 80% of the statewide annual median household income. And there is a community, you'll see it there in yellow, that is considered that fits that threshold. So in addition to inviting everybody to join us on this community workshop and provide their feedback through the survey, we'll be going out in person to this community to help share, build awareness, and see if we can get their feedback in person. So with that, we have, as many of you know, or you're all familiar with, we have been seeing a significant increase in traffic congestion since things have been opening up. As part of the goal to help with the congestion and provide other mobility options, PCTPA and all of the jurisdictions, including the city of Rocklin, have been very enthusiastic about bicycling, pedestrian and transit. And so this is a quick little video that was done to show how you can get around in the Placer region without a car.
After almost 2 years of being at home, it's time for an outdoor adventure. If you're looking for a car-free and bike-friendly experience with a great mix of local eateries and activities, what better place to explore than Placer County? With daily direct service from the Bay Area to Auburn, the Capital Corridor is the best way to get up to Placer County for a long weekend. Just hop on the train and leave the car behind. For your overnight stay, check into one of our many delightful hotels like the Park Victorian, located a short bike ride away from the Auburn station. Once you've finished settling in, be sure to enjoy some of the local cuisine, like Tap and Vine, which is a must-visit in Old Town Auburn and is just a short walk away from the Park Victorian. After a refreshing night at the Park Victorian, start your Saturday morning right with breakfast at Edelweiss Restaurant. Hop on the Auburn to Light Rail bus for a quick trip to Rocklin. Board the bus at Auburn Station, Nevada Street, and take Route 10 to Rocklin Road at Sierra College campus. Then, walk over to Quarry Park Adventures and let the fun begin. Quarry Park is the nation's only adventure park built from a former rock quarry. You can paddleboard, rappel, and rock climb, and there's a one-of-a-kind play area for the kids. After a day in the sun, wrap up your visit by going just around the corner to Straw Hat Pizza for dinner and catching the bus home. Sunday morning, grab a cup of coffee and a delicious croissant from the Poor Choice. Then, catch the Auburn Transit Shuttle at the historic Firehouse in Old Town Auburn to be taken straight to the American River confluence for an all-day mountain biking or hiking experience. After your exciting day of mountain biking, kick back and relax on the Auburn Transit Shuttle back to your hotel. Once you've had your fill of outdoor excursions, head over to Old Town Auburn, which is filled with delightful antiques, galleries, locally made goods, and much more. Finally, wrap up your weekend trip with dinner at Auburn Ale House, which offers a wide selection of tasty meals and seasonal beers. After a fun-filled weekend, use the train ride home to catch up on some Z's or post your adventure on social media using the free onboard Wi-Fi. To plan your next Placer vacation, visit the Capital Corridor website to see the train schedules and check out Visit Placer and Quarry Park Adventures for your next car-free getaway.
Okay, I've been to every one of those destinations. That's great. With that, I'd like to invite Matt McClure to give us some background on the project.
All right, thank you everyone for attending. I'm Matt McClure, the Public Services Manager here at the City of Rocklin. I just wanted to thank everyone once again for taking time out of your evening to hear the progress we've been making on the project, as well as gather some input as Luke provides some input later on tonight. But as a reminder, we have established some project goals. Most importantly, we want to improve pedestrian and bicycle access through the interchange. As the picture shows here, it's currently about a 4 to 4.5 foot sidewalk with a guardrail, and it gets pretty narrow along there. The gentleman took this candid photo that we've been using throughout that leaves, very little room for the pedestrians and bicycles to get through on the sidewalk. So this gentleman chose to take the road, but as you can see, cars are coming right down behind them. As part of improving that movement for pedestrians and bicyclists, that allows us to increase the movement of people and goods, all while enhancing safety of the project. So those are our main project goals. This is not a new concept that we need to improve the area. Back in 2017, PCTPA, or Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, did a survey of bike and pedestrian facilities that covered the entire South Placer region. And as you can see here, the feedback on that survey was we need better access around Sierra Community College and to downtown Rocklin. The lower area that's highlighted is the Rocklin Road interchange, which we're talking about tonight. And it talks about how narrow it gets and the bike lane disappears, and it's, you know, it appears that it's not safe. If you go up to the Sierra College Boulevard interchange, it talks about how there is facilities, but we need a safer way to cross I-80, or it's just not ideal. So with this project, we're trying to bring something forward that makes an access from Sierra Community College to the downtown Rocklin area easier, more inviting, and allows for additional movement of vehicles as well. Like I said, we're trying to close the gap. This map shows here in purple is our the project area that we're looking at, and you can see that there's not really any class 2 bike lanes through the area. And like I previously mentioned, there is only that 4 to 4.5 foot sidewalk on the south side of the interchange. With that, if you want to bike and use an actual class 1 or class 2 bike lane to get across Interstate 80, you currently have to either use the Sierra College Boulevard interchange or go all the way down to East Roseville Parkway. What we're trying to provide is close that 4-mile gap and provide a new alternative for these options to cross Interstate 80 at Rocklin Road. In closing that gap, we also provide an opportunity for our middle school students to get from the east side of Rocklin Road over to the Springview area right now in a safer manner. Currently, the only way is the same narrow sidewalk. And I know, as someone who grew up here in Rocklin, I had friends that lived on the east side of town, and in middle school, they were not riding their bike to school because of this narrow undercrossing. So this improvement could provide the potential, or will provide the potential, for students that are attending Springview Middle School and live on the east side of I-80 currently to be able to bike or walk to school safer rather than having to take bus or get driven by their parents. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rick McNeil-Caird to get into the engineering and some of the more technical data of the project.
Thanks, Matt. So I'm going to walk through some things. We're going to show a couple more videos, and then we'll pause for some questions and answers. So there's a lot of information you've already heard, and there's some more information that's coming, but we are going to pause for some questions and answers in just a minute here. I just want to give you a general overview of Rocklin Road. There's about 23,000 vehicles based on a count pre-COVID in 2017. So, and then we estimate by 2048, there will be about 35,000 vehicles along Rocklin Road. So that kind of exceeds the capacity of the existing 4-lane roadway even today. And so we have a video here of existing conditions. This is the PM peak hour. So this is when all the students are coming out of Sierra Community College onto Rocklin Road. And this represents actually 2018, so before COVID. And so I'll play the video now. There's no sound to this video, so I'm just gonna walk you through it here. We're kind of looking at the Rocklin Road interchange. And you can see eastbound and westbound Interstate 80, and we're coming down into Rocklin Road on the Sierra Community College side. And so we're coming along Rocklin Road as if you were leaving Sierra Community College at El Don and then coming up to Aguilar Road. That's regularly backing up on westbound Rocklin Road all the way through Aguilar Road back to El Don. And then you can see this queue is really everyone turning left onto westbound Interstate 80. So we have that single left turn lane. And then in the AM, not shown in this video, but the eastbound off ramp, typically backs up towards Interstate 80. And so as we come along to the westbound ramps, this is the left turn. Once you get through this second signal, then you're able to merge on Interstate 80 and head towards Roseville and Sacramento. And then as we keep going along this video, you can see Granite Drive in the distance here. And so our project really extends from Granite Drive to Aguilar Road. We have collected some cell phone data. In case you didn't know, you are being tracked. Whether you like that or not, the data it is anonymous. We don't know who is going from where to where, but it just tells us total numbers. And so we actually looked at 2019 for the entire year on Rocklin Road, and you can actually see this yellow arrow. We actually took the data point right here. So what we found out is that there's about 5,000 trips out of the 23,000 per day that are driving less than a mile. So we have a lot of people that are driving less than a mile, maybe from Sierra Community College over to Starbucks or over to Arby's, and they could be walking or biking. So we see a real potential here. We also looked at cell phone data for Sierra Community College itself. There's about 18,500 students there and about 2,000 staff. So over 20,000 people at Sierra Community College. Again, pre-COVID, they're starting to come back more. And eventually Sierra Community College expects to be fully back in person with classes in the next year or two. And so of those 22,500 people, there's about 1,000 that are driving less than 1.5 miles to and from the campus. So again, there's a potential for people on the campus to walk, bike, or take transit instead of driving. So we're going to walk through, last community meeting, we presented 3 concepts. And at that community meeting, we narrowed it down to what we're calling 2 alternatives. And we have some different options, pedestrian and bicycle options for the 2 alternatives. But what you're going to see through all the 5 options I'm about to show you is that the roadway design is exactly the same. The roadway design is exactly the same. And what we have is called a diverging diamond interchange. And in a minute, I'm going to show a video that's going to explain how this is going to work. But basically, if you were coming out of Sierra Community College, just like you do today, you come along Rocklin Road to a signal, you would stop at that signal, and then once the signal turns green, you would proceed to the other side of Rocklin Road. And we're going to add a 3rd lane here, basically extend the left turn lane. So we get a 3rd lane that comes along Rocklin Road, and then it'll be a free left turn lane onto the westbound on-ramp. So you won't have to go through 2 signals like today. In the eastbound direction, we're going to add a right turn lane all the way back to Granite Drive. So there'll be 3 lanes on the eastbound approach. And so if you're turning right along Rocklin Road from Granite Drive onto the freeway, it'll be a free right turn. You won't have to stop at a signal. And then for people going through, you'll stop at the signal, you'll go over to the other side, and then as you come along, there'll be a free left turn onto the ramp to head towards Auburn and Tahoe. You won't have to stop at a second signal like today. And then for people going through, you'll stop at the signal and then cross back over to the other side. That's a diverging diamond interchange. And that's what it's called. It's the crossover pattern. For the eastbound off-ramp, we're going to widen that. So we have 2 left turn lanes and 2 right turn lanes. And actually this summer, what's going under construction is the ID auxiliary lanes. And that's going to provide a 4th lane on Interstate 80 from Highway 65 to the existing exit at Rocklin Road, but make it a 2-lane off-ramp at Rocklin Road. And that's going to construction separate from this project this summer. For the westbound off-ramp, it'll still just be a single left and a single right, but we've modified it to fit the diverging diamond interchange. And that off-ramp will be controlled by the signal. Same as this, it'll be controlled by a signal for the eastbound off-ramp. For the eastbound on-ramp, there will be a ramp meter. It'll be a single lane and there'll be a ramp meter. And the westbound on-ramp will be a 2-lane just like it is today, but there'll be a ramp meter at that 2-lane. So now I'm gonna play a video that's gonna try and explain all of this, what the DDI is and the different pedestrian and bicycle options. And there is sound to this. So I'm going to play that now.
The City of Rocklin, in cooperation with Caltrans, proposes to modify the existing Interstate 80 Rocklin Road interchange in Placer County to improve pedestrian and bicycle access, increase movement of people and goods, and enhance safety. The interchange is the gateway to downtown Rocklin and access to Sierra Community College. Rocklin Road improvements will include a diverging diamond interchange and a separated bicycle and pedestrian path. Interstate 80 improvements include eastbound off-ramp widening and ramp meter installation on the eastbound and westbound on-ramps. Alternative 1 includes a separated bicycle and pedestrian overcrossing of Interstate 80. The overcrossing alternatives utilize the ramp infield areas north of Rocklin Road to ramp up a bicycle and pedestrian overcrossing of Interstate 80. Alternatives 1A through 1C can be changed on the east and west side of I-80 to the preferred path configuration onto the overcrossing. Alternative 2 features a bicycle and pedestrian undercrossing of Interstate 80. Alternative 2A and 2B will include a path of travel parallel to Rocklin Road with modifications to the existing Interstate 80 bridge to accommodate the designated path. 2A includes a path with open columns along Rocklin Road, while 2B will be separated with a solid wall next to Rocklin Road. Traffic on Rocklin Road will be controlled by a traffic signal on either side of the I-80 underpass, similar to today. At these signals, eastbound and westbound traffic will cross to the opposite sides of the road, travel under Interstate 80, then cross back to the other side of the road. The crossover movement allows a free left turn onto Interstate 80 for eastbound and westbound traffic. The westbound off-ramp from I-80 will be realigned to accommodate the DDI configuration. Drivers turning left or right on Rocklin Road will experience a single traffic signal at the DDI crossover location. The westbound on-ramp will include a designated right turn from Rocklin Road, a 2-lane ramp meter,
I like the Rocklin.
onto Interstate 80. The eastbound off-ramp from I-80 will be widened from 3 to 4 lanes at the intersection of Rocklin Road, 2 for left turn and 2 for the right turn onto Rocklin Road. The I-80 eastbound on-ramp will still be a single-lane merge. The right turn on Rocklin Road will yield to the free left turn. A ramp meter will be installed with the ramp improvements, and the mainline merge length will increase. Mainline I-80 travelers will experience little modifications from the Rocklin Road interchange improvements. The most significant improvement will be a visual gateway with the Alternative 1 overcrossing. The City of Rocklin is excited for an opportunity to create a visual gateway into the city with signature landscape architecture and city branding on the pedestrian overcrossing of Interstate 80. The City of Rocklin is committed to cooperation with community and agency partners to increase the safety for vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists at Rocklin Road and Interstate 80. Studies show that diverging diamond interchanges create a reduction in crashes and increase the movement of people and goods. The separated pedestrian and bicycle alternatives also provide a path outside of the Rocklin Road travelway for non-vehicular traffic to cross Interstate 80 and access Sierra Community College and downtown Rocklin.
Glass, was the video glitching and the sound glitching?
Just at one point, but I think it worked out well.
Okay, well, I'll just let you know, I apologize, that's a large video, and we will be posting that video to the website, and so you'll be able to look at it there and hear it, and I apologize if it was a glitching on your side. But I think the video gives a good overview of how a DDI, the diverging diamond interchange, works, the roadway. It shows arrows of where people are going. So hopefully that explains it to the public in an understandable way. It also went over the 5 different options for the pedestrian and bicycle. So I'm gonna walk through this. I'm sure there's lots of questions, and so I'm just gonna walk through them, and then we can come back to slides as questions come up. So this is alternative 1. This is option A. And again, I'm just going to focus on the pedestrian and bicycle. The roadway is exactly the same in all these options. So if you're a pedestrian, instead of the sidewalk on the south side of Rocklin Road today, we're going to remove that. There'll be no pedestrian and bicyclists on the south side like there is today. Everyone will be to the north. And so Sierra Community College is on the north. If you were at Sierra Community College, you would walk along the sidewalk, you would cross here. This would be just a unsignalized crossing. So motorists would just yield to pedestrians and bicyclists, and then you would cross here. And again, motorists will yield to pedestrians and bicyclists. And what's not shown here is that there would be a staircase. So you could either walk along a path here. The green is kind of at ground level, and then the gray is at structure. And then there would be a staircase here. So if you didn't want to walk all the way out here and all the way back, you could just go up the staircase right onto the structure. Then again, this structure would go up and over Interstate 80, then you'd come back down, and then there'd be a path, just like a class 1 or a class 1 path or a bike pedestrian trail that you would see in the city of Rocklin. That's what this will just be like. And then you'll come back. This will be signalized as off ramp. So this will be a protected bicycle and pedestrian crossing here. And then there will be a path through the island. And again, this is a protected crossing here. And then the city is going to work on improving this sidewalk all the way down to Granite Drive so that this becomes really a class 1 trail along this segment here. So if we go to option B for alternative 1, same thing for everything. It's just on the inside instead of the at grade path, it'd be on the inside and the structure would be on the outside, and then go up and over I-80. And then again, structure's on the outside and the path is on the inside. That's the only difference between A and B.
Luke, could you maybe, can you share what the distance is for that travel?
I think it's like a quarter mile.
Okay, thank you.
So this is, and Matt McClure, maybe you could help me with that by measuring the existing distance between the existing signal. If a pedestrian was here today, how far it's from here to here, Matt, if I could ask you to do that, or Mike Robinson. Okay, so this one's a little bit different. Instead of walking all the way out and walking all the way back, this would be what's called a switchback. So you would come along the path and you would go back and forth. And again, the reason we have to do this is for ADA compliance. Someone in a wheelchair, the American Disabilities Act, someone in a wheelchair needs to be able to utilize this facility. So we can only go up a grade so much. That's why we would provide a staircase in all of these options on this side and on this side. So when you get to the structure, there'll be a staircase down, so you don't have to do this all the way. But basically this would go back and forth, then you go up and over, and then this is a spiral down. So you would spiral down and then come onto the path. And just to give you a sense of what this looks like, this is what alternative 1 option C would look like. So this gives you a sense of the structure over 80 in relation to the buildings in the area. So you are going to have to climb from Rocklin Road under Interstate 80 up to Interstate 80 and then above Interstate 80 and go over Interstate 80 and then back down the other side. I will say in alternative 1, we can mix and match anything. So if we like the path on one side with just the simple structure and we like the spiral on the other side, we can mix and match between option A, B, and C. But this is kind of the bookends of the options. So alternative 2, this is where we would go. Alternative 1 was over Interstate 80. Alternative 2 is under Interstate 80. So this would be a path. We heard in community meeting 1 that people really wanted a direct path. And so this provides a direct path. It goes under Interstate 80. This is option A. And so same thing as the alternative 1, except that instead of going out on a path and coming back, and going over 80, you're going to go alongside Rocklin Road. And this will, as this video showed, this will actually be open along Rocklin Road. So as you're driving by, you can see in this undercrossing, and then the path would come back out here. And then option B is just slightly different. It's offset a little bit because under option B, we don't need to extend the existing I-80 bridge. Under options A, we have to extend the I-80 bridge. But by coming out here, we can do what's called a cut and cover. We can cut the roadway out, drop in a structure, and then cover it up. And it's much faster construction and also more cost effective. So it's offset from the bridge and you go under. The only unfortunate part is that this would be a closed undercrossing. So as you're driving along Rocklin Road, you would not be able to see inside the undercrossing. And then you come out on a path back over to Rocklin Road. So that was a lot of information. We're almost 40 minutes into into the meeting here, and you've absorbed a lot. So we're going to open it up for question and answers.
Okay, thanks, Luke. We do have a number of questions in the chat box, so I'll try to go through them quickly. One of the questions is, are there any negative impacts to the businesses? Are there any businesses that are going to be removed? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. There's 5 properties that are potentially impacted by this project. I'm happy to report that they're all slivers of right-of-way, except for, and I see Ranveer is on the call here, and I assume others, but the 76 and Arco gas station are special cases. So at the Arco gas station, we've met out there on site, and you know, we're gonna have to reconfigure their driveways and take a sliver. At the 76 gas station, we have a little more of an impact. The gas pumps that are along Rocklin Road will likely need to be relocated, and we've been working with the property owner on that. We intend to provide more information, and that's what those stakeholder meetings are for, is more focus with those property owners. I will say there's a you know, Starbucks is not going to be impacted. There is the Rocklin Cleaners and the liquor store. We've met with them. We're not impacting them at all. And there's a vacant property on the northeast quadrant. We are potentially needing to relocate their private driveway. And Arby's, we're taking a sliver of right away, but not impacting the drive-through. So overall, it's not a huge impact. We've tried to really minimize impacts to property owners, and no property will be lost.
Okay, we have 2 comments when you were explaining the first concept, and that's why I asked what the distance was, because the comment is that they've never encountered a long pedestrian overcrossing that increases pedestrian use, given the divergence from the desired path and the elevation change. And another community member agreed with them that they felt that the distance was significant and possibly a hindrance to the pedestrian bicycle usage.
Yeah, and we're going to vote, and we're going to vote. We're going to show preference. We're going to show preference for these different options. We're going to take a poll. That's the word I was looking for. But I don't know, Mike Robinson, did you happen to dig up something for me, or Matt McClure, did you get me some distances? I don't want to, I said a quarter mile in our first community meeting. I'm not sure it's that long or not.
It depends on what route you're taking. I measured, if currently you have to cross at the Aguilar intersection to then get to the south side of Rocklin Road to go under the undercrossing. And then if you were to go back to the north side of the road, it's about 0.22 miles for that walking distance, if that's what you were going to do.
So about a quarter mile.
Yes.
Okay, and so we're actually going to increase the amount people are going to have to walk under alternative 1, but with the staircase, it's more of an elevation climb and back down rather than distance. The staircases will make it a direct route, but yes, you'll have to go up a staircase, which, you know, is less direct than alternative 2.
And there were some comments about stairs, the possibility of utilizing stairs. Are staircases in all of the options?
They would in option A, B, and C for alternative 1. Alternative 2 does not need a staircase. It'll just be, it'll slope down. Right. It'll go along Rocklin Road.
Sorry, for the elevation. Yes, thank you. Has a bus lane been considered?
So there's actually 2 transit stops just east of here at Sierra Community College, both on eastbound and westbound Rocklin Road. And the city of Rocklin has actually improved those bus stops recently with shelters and benches. And so the other thing is, along Rocklin Road, it's a parking lot now. I mean, if you're there in the morning or the afternoon, there's not a lot of traffic moving. You're kind of sitting there. So the Diverging Diamond Interchange is not only going to benefit traffic, but it's also going to help the several transit lines that run along here to move along Rocklin Road and get them out of the congestion.
Thank you. Does the planning team have data on the number of vehicles entering freeways at speed that yield to pedestrians? This is a community member's perspective. It's pretty rare to witness in my experience. And another person agreed, several people agreed to that comment.
So I'm a pedestrian and bicyclist all the time. I actually went for a run at lunch today, and yeah, motorists don't look for pedestrians or bicyclists, and it's a little scary out there. So we're hoping to separate. I mean, right now, bicyclists are riding on the road with motorists. So the whole point of this is to separate the motorists and the bicyclists and the pedestrians. So that's why it's a separate path. But I know at that eastbound on-ramp, I went through, it's an uncontrolled movement. So we are looking into that. We've gotten several comments from the first community meeting from our stakeholders that, that's a potential issue. And so we're looking at through the design to enhance the visibility through that area. We're looking at how drivers come into that area so that they see pedestrians and bicyclists as they're based on the angle that they're turning. So that's our concern is the eastbound on-ramp. The westbound off-ramp, it will be signalized. So just be like, pedestrian will push the pedestrian button, they'll cross when there's a pedestrian sign. And so we feel like the westbound off-ramp will be a much safer location. The eastbound, we need to do some more work on the design. And as we get more details, we'll be coming back in a community meeting number 3 in the fall. We'll have more details on that.
Thank you, Luke. I'm going to push the pause button on the chat box for a second because Sonia has been waiting quite a while with her virtual hand up. So I'm going to ask Esme to unmute Sonia so that she can ask her question. And Sonia, you are unmuted.
Thank you. Hi, Luke. How are you? This is Sonia from ARCO. And nice to talk to you again. So I'm looking at these plans and it looks like 2 open driveways for us, correct? Based on what I'm seeing virtually on what we're looking at.
Yeah, Sonia, I wish I could guarantee you that. I know that we're working through the Caltrans process and Caltrans is a great partner. And we've submitted the design to Caltrans. We have not got comments back yet, so we're waiting on Caltrans to provide any comments. The city is also reviewing the design, so we're waiting back for comments from both the city and Caltrans. And as soon as we get those comments, Sonia, I'm going to be back out there at ARCO walking around with you and going over the comments and making sure. But our intent is to try and maintain those 2 driveways. The driveway closest to Interstate 80. We talked about a right out only at that driveway. So that option's out there also.
And like we talked before, logistically and any other way, I can't get gas deliveries without that. So that would shut me down. So, I mean, it's really for us as a business, that's not an option because where our tanks are located currently at this moment, there's no way for our trucks and our gas to be delivered any other way. And then further on that comment, I mean, I'm there almost every day, at least some point in the day, 7 days a week. And as a community, I will tell you, I mean, I think the idea is a great idea because even me pulling out from our station and that sidewalk and everything not be available. So if it is on the opposite side and we have something for traffic and even for us being a business on this side versus the other side and that being like open for pedestrians and bikers, I think that makes more sense where they're not coming through where there is a higher traffic situation where there is a gas station that is busier. So I think the logic of putting the pedestrian and everything on that side and directing off of from Aguilar that way makes perfect sense as far as safety wise.
I appreciate the comments, Sonia, and look forward to continuing to collaborate with you.
Thank you, Sonia. And I'll go back to the chat box. I'll try to be really quick about this. Somebody's already anticipating, I believe, your next slide, Luke, which is they want to know which one is the most cost efficient. Maybe we'll just put a pause button on that one. Let me get through a few of the other ones, and then you can share that information. Does that sound good? Okay, thank you. Does option 2B have lights and cameras?
Wow. It will have lighting if that's what you're asking. Street lighting, cameras. Are you talking about like red light cameras or what are we talking about?
Rick, if you wouldn't mind, maybe would you like to raise your hand and interact with us verbally? And while we're waiting for Rick, well, I'll just move on. What are the criteria you're using to make the final decision?
That's the next slide.
Okay, you're right. That is the next slide. Sorry. We'll get to that, Daniel. Option 2A and B make much more sense for cyclists and pedestrians. Option 2B, closed off, question mark, sounds dangerous though, especially for children. Could you explain a little bit more about the closed off?
Yeah, so option A is going to be right next to Rocklin Road. So there'll be columns, and because it's right next to Rocklin Road, we can open up in between those columns and you'll be able to see inside. Of course, there'd be a barrier so kids can just walk out of the undercrossing into the roadway, but it'll be open like a window. To think of it as a window, but an open window to see in. But option B, where it's offset, it'll be closed, so you won't be able to see in the tunnel. And that just provides ventilation, safety, you know, if something illegal is going on or a homeless person's camping in there, you know, it's visually easier to see.
Okay, thank you. Some cyclists may choose to use the roadway. Any data on the safety of the diverging diamond interchange versus more traditional interchange designs for cyclists who ride in the same lanes as motorists?
So Mike Robinson, our engineering lead, is going to tell you how great these are for bicycles.
Well, sure, I'll touch on that. And I would like to add, I'm an avid cyclist myself, but one of the things to note, and I did want to touch about this a little bit when we were talking about the crossing at the eastbound on-ramp, that diverging diamonds are designed in a fashion to really slow traffic down. Just using the example there at the eastbound on-ramp, the traffic's going to be traveling 15 to 20 miles an hour. As far as the through movements on Rocklin Road itself, you know, right now I believe it's signed for 40 miles an hour. It's a completely straight alignment, and traffic can easily exceed that. And you know, going back and looking at that picture of the cyclist that we showed at the beginning of the meeting, it is. I've ridden through there myself, and it's not fun. You know, typically if we had the room, we would put room for a bike lane along Rocklin Road here, but our restrictions are the existing Caltrans bridge. But Rocklin Road itself is designed for a speed of around 24, 25 miles an hour in this case. So for cyclists that are decide to stay in the lanes instead of going with the multi-use path, they will at least be dealing with a much slower speed of traffic that's traveling through the intersection.
Thank you, Mike. So we did get some clarity about the cameras. They were asking about security cameras for the pedestrians and cyclists.
I think that needs to be figured out. I think if we did alternative 2, there definitely would be lighting in the undercrossing. I don't know if we do cameras or not, but we'll take that back for consideration with the city. I think we'd have to work with the city police and fire department and understand a couple of things, but we'll take that comment back. And I guess I would ask, do you want cameras? I assume that's why you're making the comment.
There was a number of them that did.
Yeah, okay.
We have a lot.
So Matt McClure, that's something to take under consideration. We put some cameras in there.
Okay, so I think I got through most of the questions, and given the time, I think I want to move on to the next slide. We did get a lot of comments and different comments about supporting different options, and we will be going to that poll soon, and they can share it there as well, but we will be capturing all the data that's in the chat box. Go ahead, Luke.
Okay, can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, so we threw a lot of options at you. There's 5 options. You can see alternative 1, and let me get my laser pointer here. Alternative 1 here, and there's 3 options, A, B, and C, and there's alternative 2, A and B. And you know, since we started this project in the middle of 2021, we've been working on engineering studies, environmental studies, and the good part is there's not really an environmental impact, or at least a major environmental impact with this project. So you don't see any of that on here because it's the same for all 5 options. Cost is a big thing though. So this line right here is cost. You can see Depending on the options, they range from about $34 million to $40 million, with alternative one, option A, being the least expensive at 34. That's why it's green. It's a low potential issue to us. A higher cost is a bigger potential issue because we got to go find the funding. So alternative 2A costs the most, and that's the one that's right adjacent to Rocklin Road and would be open. And the reason it's more expensive because we have to extend the existing I-80 bridge. You can see construction is anywhere from 2 years to 3 years. Project approval, obviously going over Interstate 80 with an infill structure. It's less, Caltrans likes this option better. Let me put it that way. And alternative 2 is just more complicated in terms of extending the existing bridge or doing the cut and cover. And you can see down here at constructability, you know, the traffic shifts and the detours that go on with alternative 2 just cause construction to take longer, and it's more complicated. You can see here structures, you know, there's a shorter structure in option A, alternative 1, versus longer and more complex structures. And then, you know, alternative 2, it's just a more complicated structure. So higher cost structure for option A and middle of the road for option B. Ped and bike, we heard added direction travel, people don't like it. So that's why we've added the staircases under alternative 1, but we understand there's still some resistance with having to go up a staircase, across, and then down a staircase if you don't want to use the path. City Gateway, I'm going to explain this in a little bit, but as you saw in the video, there's an opportunity with the overcrossing to really, like Loomis at Horseshoe Bar Road, they did some stuff in the fencing to do something for Rocklin as kind of the gateway to the city. And then funding, obviously the lowest cost option allows us to, it's more competitive because we need less money, whereas the more expensive ones make it harder. But someone asked about the criteria. This is the criteria we're using. And tonight we're hoping to fill in this line because we want to hear from the stakeholders and from the public on which options you prefer. And we're going to do a little poll here. So I'm going to go to the next slide and give it back to Gladys.
Great, thank you. So if you wouldn't mind, Esme, would you mind putting the menti.com in the chat box so people can click to it easily? Unfortunately, Zoom does not allow us to do preferences on their polling, so we had to use a separate polling system. But if you go to menti.com on your computer or whatever device you're using currently, it will pop up and ask for a code. And if you wouldn't mind just putting that code in, 56201934, you will be able to access the poll. And we'll just give you a minute to do that. And then what you'll see, what you should be seeing once you've accessed the poll is the 5 concepts, pictures of them, and we're asking you on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the best and 5 being the worst. How do you rank these options? And you can do as many, you can do all 5, or you can just do 1 or anything in between. But we would really appreciate your input on that. And Esme, can I? Oh, go ahead.
Did you want me to unshare so we can show the polling results, or what do we?
Well, I was just about to ask Esme. Esme, how do we know when the poll when people have finished the poll?
It's all live, so it's showing results right now.
Okay, so you need to show your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Luke, if you can stop sharing, then Esme can share her screen. Oh, wow. Okay. And Esme, would you mind just letting me know when, because, okay, I see the number. Is that number 10 the one that's the people who have, yep, okay. Well, it's moving now. I don't know about the rest of you, but I find this very exciting.
Maybe we can ask Gladys if anyone's having a difficult time accessing it.
Yes, if anybody is, if you want to put it in the chat box, we can see if we can help you. Oh, somebody else thinks that this is pretty cool, so. Yay. Thank you, Dara.
Hey Gladys, how long will this poll be live for?
This is just for this meeting.
Okay.
And Gladys, how many people do we have on the meeting total?
Okay. Let's see. We have I would say about 25.
25 people. So we've got 18.
Thereabout.
And some people are driving, I saw. So
Oh yeah, I see that, yeah.
Cool.
So it looks like we've got a significant portion. So we can certainly stop the poll. Oh, one more join. Okay. I knew when I said that somebody would put it in. Okay. Luke, you can be the determining factor of when.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. I really appreciate everyone's kind of instantaneous feedback. This is helpful. I'm sure we've got a lot of people that just put in the chat their preference also. So we'll take that into consideration. But based on this, I'm seeing alternative 2 kind of rising to the top here, and then alternative 1, A, B, and C also, we've got some preferences there. So we're going to take that back, and we're going to talk with Caltrans, we're going to talk with the city, and we're going to talk with stakeholders, and we're going to try and move forward with 2 of these options. So we'll likely move forward with an option for alternative 2 and an option for alternative 1. And we'll be back in the fall with another community meeting to kind of update you on the design and those 2 options. And anyways, so let me share my screen back. And I don't know if Sonia's had her hand up or it's a new hand up.
I think it is a new hand. So Sonia, we'll unmute you, but we do have to move quickly because we're starting to run out of time, but go ahead. Esme, can you unmute? There you go.
Hello? Okay, there we go. Sorry, I just had one real quick comment. I think the community and myself, and I think other business owners, I think safety is the biggest concern. And with the transient consideration, how is the city of Rocklin and how are we working together to take that into account? I'm having issues at my own site with transients with the bridge underneath behind my site and behind us with the properties, etc. So how are we going to make sure this is safe for everyone, the students, etc., that have later classes that are going to be using this, bike paths, etc. So how are we taking this into consideration? I think that's a very important thing. I think that community would want to really know about, and how the city of Rocklin and everyone is taking that into consideration.
Thank you,
Matt. I can't see anyone, so I'm not sure if you want to answer. I can answer to start though, and just say, Sonia, we realize, and you've enlightened us on some of the issues out there. I know the city was well aware of the issues. I will say, through lighting and potentially cameras, and there'll be lighting along the roadway. That's the other thing nice about this project is, a lot of the street lighting out there will be upgraded, and I think we'll have a lot more of those details in the fall. So with that,
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on. So this is kind of the city gateway overcrossing option 1.
Luke, you need to share your presentation. Thanks.
I shared the wrong screen. Sorry.
Yeah. There you go.
Thank you. Sorry about that. You saw my my notes there.
Your crib notes.
Yeah, that was actually the only slide that had notes. That's so unfortunate. Anyways, I'm not reading from a script. Okay, so we have alternative 1, city gateway overcrossing option 1. Are you seeing the right one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of a tree. So this was in the video you saw as you're driving on Interstate 80. This is Interstate 80 under. This is the only alternative that we have this opportunity because it's an overcrossing. Obviously, with the undercrossing, we wouldn't have this this option. So this is kind of a tree. The next one is taking the City of Rocklin logo and incorporating it into an overcrossing. And that's the one you actually saw in the video, was this one of the DDI. And then we have this one, which is just kind of a variation on the city logo. And so those are three that are under consideration. We need to take those through Caltrans and the city and get their input and buy off. And we'll come back in the fall with some refined concepts. But we at least wanted to share that we're looking at these. So this slide has a lot of information on it. Needless to say, I just want to let you know, the cost is anywhere from $34 to $40 million. Where the city has about $15 million, and we're trying to go get $17 million from the state. And that's between the active transportation program and the local partnership program. And then we've been meeting with the California Transportation Commission, talk with their commissioners. And so we're working on that. We're working to get the funding. We'd still be slightly short a couple $1 million. So federal funding might be something we look at also. So that's kind of an update on project funding. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt McClure.
All right, thank you, Luke. As part of the process for identifying funding, we've been meeting with other, constituents and getting support. Just this week, we met with Sierra Community College, and we're going to be getting a support letter from them for our grant applications. We've also been working with our partner agencies such as PCTPA and SACOG and CCJPA, which is Capital Corridor, or the Amtrak station, as well as, we're going to be reaching out to some other clubs in the area, like the Sierra Foothills Cycling Club, Civic Thread, which used to be called Walk Sacramento. We're going to be reaching out and trying to gather as much support to make our application as competitive as possible, to gather as much funding as we can to improve the amenities throughout this area. And then that takes us to our schedule. This is the same schedule that we showed at the first community meeting. We are, still on track to be finishing our environmental documents and approval by the end of this calendar year of 2022. Assuming that we meet that schedule, we are going to be moving on to the next phase of design, which is for the actual PS&E, which is the actual plans. Right now we're working on environmental, so we're getting rough plans, but the next phase is going to be the actual plans, construction documents. So tweaks could happen there. So whatever comes out of this might be, I want to make sure it's very clear, it might be slightly tweaked just because the actual plans still need to be developed rather than just conceptual. And then we have our right-of-way phase, where we would have to discuss with the businesses that could be affected with some right-of-way acquisition. And then hopefully mid-2025, beginning of 2026, we can get out there and break ground and start construction. And depending on the final design on what is moved forward to construction, we could open in 2027 or 2028. And with that, I will open it up to any final questions that we may have not covered already.
Thank you, Matt. We did have a couple of questions. One was, Luke, the decision matrix doesn't seem to account for long-term viability. Car traffic is bound to get worse eventually. Making a bike path that people actually use, and this person feels that 2A or B would be that concept, will keep the traffic at bay longer, which offsets the upfront costs. Do you have any response to the long-term viability portion of it?
I was digesting a lot there. And I can't see that comment, honestly. I don't know. I'm going to defer to Matt on that, or Mike Robinson. Long-term viability of which, the road or the pedestrian?
So what they're saying is that if you make the bicycle and pedestrian design, if you select that one, the long-term, it will encourage people to walk or bike, and there'll be less cars, which means that
Gotcha.
it's a better long-term.
the alternative two, the more direct travel, will encourage more walking and biking. I don't disagree with you. The reality is, do I want to walk up a staircase and down the other staircase or along a long path? Not necessarily if I'm trying to get from A to B as fast as possible. But I will say what you didn't see in that infield area, there will be trees, you know, there'll be shade. We almost think of it as, you know, a recreational trail in some cases. You know, yes, people will be going from school to work or school to shop and need to get back for class. So we want to make that as fast as possible, or people working in the area going to lunch. But we also see this as a recreational area. And alternative one would probably be more of a recreational path where you're not worried about getting from A to B as fast as possible. You're more worried about, you know, taking a ride, taking a walk, and a little bit of out of direction travel is not a big as concern to you. But we saw from the polling, overwhelmingly, people like alternative two. So we're taking that back into account.
And there's another question about why is undercrossing more expensive than an option one?
Yep, that has to do with the bridge structure. So, you know, on option A, we have to extend the existing bridge. If we were to replace that bridge, it'd be $40 million. We're not planning to, so double the project cost. We're not planning to replace that bridge. We'd have to extend that bridge. And in option B, we do what's called a cut and cover. We cut into Interstate 80, you know, take it down to 2 lanes from 3 lanes, do a portion, drop in the structure, cover it back up. Then we cut the median out, drop in the structure, cover it back up. And then we go to westbound, cut in, deep down, drop in the structure, cover it back up. So 80 will never be fully closed day or night, but we would take down lanes to accomplish that. And that's just a much more expensive process than just building a structure over 80. And by the way, traffic control, as you can imagine, over 100,000 vehicles on Interstate 80, that's very expensive. We have to get CHP out there, we have to get flaggers, we have to get, you know, cones. There's just a lot more traffic control expenses with alternative two. And by the way, alternative two would also, Rocklin Road would likely need to go down to 2 lanes for most of the construction from 4 lanes. Whereas alternative one, by going to structure over 80, we avoid a lot of those traffic shifts and detours.
Okay. And then I just want to remind everybody that there is a survey currently out that is live, and it will be out until the 15th of May. And the link to it is in the chat box at the very, very top. So if you scroll all the way to the very top, if you click that link, you will get to the survey. And I really would encourage everybody to share that with your friends, family, colleagues, you know, so that we can get as much feedback as possible. I think we're at something like 60 respondents so far, but it'd be great to hear from everybody. So please do share that with any of your associates that you know would be interested in providing us their feedback. And with that,
And Gladys, real quick, it does look like the survey, when it got input in the chat, it wasn't like a link, it was just text. So I don't know if we can put it at the bottom of the chat so someone.
Of course. Esme, would you mind just putting the link back at the very bottom, please? Oh, she did already.
But what I wanted to say is that in addition to the polling tonight and the feedback we're getting in the chat tonight, you know, we're going to take that survey into account also as we decide which options to move forward with.
Great. And then Sonia does have her hand up. And Sonia, we are running a little late, so if you wouldn't mind, we're going to unmute you. But if you can be efficient in your question or comment, that would be great. You have been so far, by the way. Thank you. Esme, would you mind unmuting? And you
I'm
are.
sorry, Luke. I just had a question on that comment you made. You said that it's more for recreational, but I thought this project was based on, because the college is there and the traffic is during college hours. So if we're not taking into account the college students, that was something that drew me aback right now with your comment on that, because that's where our traffic comes on peak hours on that road. Me being there every single day, I know the peak and when that traffic rush is. So if we're catering only to recreational and not the college students, that's a concern for me.
Yeah, that's not what I meant by that comment, Sonia. So I want to clarify. It's for everyone. It's for the people that are working in the area, going to lunch. It's for the students that are running over to grab a quick lunch or go to the library or go to the Amtrak station. I just meant alternative one is, you know, kind of has a recreational path, but the staircase is for the person that needs to get from A to B really quickly.
Thank you for that clarifying comment. So with that, I want to apologize for being 12 minutes late. That's the facilitator's fault. But we really, really appreciated all the questions and comments. And we hope you have a good evening. And thank you once again for joining us. And be sure to go to the website and stay up to date. And you'll be hearing from us later for another community workshop. So thank you and have a good evening.